But now you don't have to do that anymore. Like you can you could start you could seriously start to like envision the fucking future and be unencumbered by any of this logistical, like heavy lifting of writing code, of having to think about all these things and like really work through the. It could just do it. You could simply say, I need someone to understand these things at these times, or not even do that. You could even go higher and then just throw that at the AI, at an agent, and then have it come back with those results within particular visualizations, within particular like libraries of visualizations, different components, different this.
Exactly. Yeah.
It can like construct entirely dynamic fucking tool experiences for you, right? And like surface shit to you at the time when you can need it. That's dope.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like we can think that way now.
And you could probably train it into your unique way of doing it.
Oh,
That frank ad tech slice of how you surface vast amounts of data in actionable ways via
100%.
the UI. You can train it probably on, I mean, not only things you've done in the past, but templated things for the future, as well as potentially even design assets you come up with along the way. You could feed it a fucking library of every fucking pointer you've ever made in your whole life
Dude,
and have it generate new pointers based on that one, but then have it use those, have the agent use those in the
yeah.
creation of new things.
As I think about it, it's going to fucking make everything implode. Like it's going to be it's wild, right? And this is what your talk did for me, right? I fucking like shit went crazy in my head because I was like, I have been living within a simulation. No, I have been living probably within the confines of a world, right, that we truly no longer need to live within, and it is a wild thing to like break that little wall open, right? Because you go, well, we can't do that, right? Because there's so much like,
I
well, yeah, we can't. Like that's hard. That's expensive. That takes 1,000 people. Like, fuck, I don't know. Like don't need that anymore.
Right.
Don't you don't
Yeah.
need that. You literally have a legion of 100,000 people if you want at your fingertips. Give it like a couple few years,
Dude,
forget it,
I know.
right? Like,
And in an era where everything is possible at a level of perfection, all of a sudden editorial and critique becomes the gold standard. It's like we're finite beings with limited time and attention. So what we choose to do all of a sudden becomes even more valuable than it ever was before, because now there's
yeah,
infinite
man,
perfection level things that we could do with our time and attention.
100%. That's a different way of saying what I have been thinking, which is it's not about how you do it. I was talking about sign painters earlier, right?
Yeah.
So like you have these beautiful human beings who spend their lives working on this craft, right? And they work in very specific ways, right? Hand gestures are important, and the way they think about color and the way they like mix paint, and the way they do all these things. That's beautiful. That's absolutely it's gorgeous, right? From a human experience and a human making a thing, it's wonderful. But like it's not about that anymore. Or there we can choose to say it's not about the technique of making anymore. And it really is. We're just continuing to focus more and more and more and more on how you use it. Like, what's the goal? Like,
Mhm.
what's the real goal, right? You don't have to worry about what it takes to make shit. You can actually spend your time thinking about what do I want to drive? What's the goal? What's the
Yeah.
success plan?
What's
Where
worth
do I
my
want to
time
be?
to actually make? What
Yep.
does the
Like
world
what?
need? What do I need? What do I want to
Yeah.
do?
Yeah. What do we like? Holy shit. Like that is wild, man. It really is. It really is. It's a crazy place to take that piece of. I've been working for a long time, right? So I had again 3 decades under my belt at this point. So like to take the part which is like the ever present. No, that's too expensive. No, that's too much overhead. No, that's too much this. No, that's too much whatever. And basically take that and like go,
Set those limitations all the way
I
aside.
don't
Yeah.
need that shit anymore. So cool. Now I can literally sit here on blue sky. So what do I actually want to make? What would be the thing that we really, really want to make? And then not put any barriers in front of them. Like legit, no barrier. right? I could get access to any data point I want. I can have this thing surface whatever I want, whenever I want to another human being. I can have it learn about that particular human being. I don't have to sit here and actually dumb down the solutions that I'm making to the lowest common denominator,
That's
right? Or the
right.
easiest thing for all
Yeah.
the people,
Yeah.
right? Fucking keeps going, dude. So
Yeah.
you don't have to do that anymore. You don't, right? You can legit say, I'm going to make this tool set, which does this set of things, right, for these people to enable this kind of shit. And then I want to give it a level of freedom to optimize itself based on how Kris sits in front of the computer
Yeah.
and works, right? I know Kris comes in at this particular time during the day. He looks at these things. These are the things he cares about. These are the accounts. This is the
Yeah.
whatever, right? The
Yeah.
reports he runs, all this shit. I'm like relating it to my own experience.
I mean,
But
even
like
it
it can
knows
just
that
go
shit in real time too. It knows the news headlines I read this morning. It knows, everything.
100%.
Uh-huh.
It knows all that shit,
Yeah.
right? So like it knows your personal life and it knows your business life. And it can just like, what's up, Kris?
Yeah.
Hey,
Serve you
I
up
know that you're
exactly
gonna need
what you need. Yeah.
boop, 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 boop. And you're just like, yep, this is cool. Boop, that, dope. Awesome. I'm gonna get some coffee. Right. And like, and then you're like, oh, by the way, I got a meeting at 3. So put that shit together for me. And it's like, already done, Kris. I already saw your calendar. I know you have that meeting at 3 with
Right.
whomever, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm running that report now.
Uh,
So you're just like, it's amazing. Thanks, computer. Right. Like we finally it's like living in goddamn Star Trek.
yeah. Yeah.
Like, I mean, and hopefully we keep it mostly positive, like Star Trek. But like, it's wild. It really is wild to like remove for the first time ever all of that overhead,
Yeah.
all of that thinking
I was
that
watching Sam Altman talk last night, that OpenAI guy, and
mm,
the thing that stuck with me the most, I try to catch all the talks he's given right now just so I can keep my mind open about all this stuff. And he was talking about like, oh yeah, ChatGPT. It's just a tiny little window into what we're doing right now. And we decided to release it now because pretty much what he was saying was, if I showed you everything I'm doing right now, humanity's consciousness would not be able to handle it. The change that you're talking about cluing into, you've already been messing with this shit for a year. And then, while you watch my video, you had this like epiphany. You're like, whoa. And that's on
yeah,
what Sam calls just this tiny little window of what is possible. So I think that, our understanding and our awareness of what is possible is going to continue to accelerate really quick, especially as we start to get access to whatever else is underneath the
really
hood
quick,
there. Yeah. Fuck, man, there's like
really,
12
really quick.
amazing tools popping on my radar every single day right now.
I mean, that's just going to continue to, and that's one thing that's interesting is I had someone I work with actually ask me a question about it was happened to be a much younger person, and they asked me, they were like, "Does this remind you of the internet? When this happened?" And I'm like, "I get it. I'm fucking old. Yeah, it does actually." But the thing is, like, people, I was chuckling internally. I mean, I think it was about 3 or 4 months ago. I started to see a lot of traffic on LinkedIn about like people trying to market themselves as like prompt writers,
Yeah.
and I was like, bless your hearts, man. That's going to be valid for like another 3 months. Like that's like it's going to go so fast. The shit's going to be so smart,
I know.
right? Like you're not that.
It's like every time I find a prompt engineer's website and then he shares some of his approach to how he engineers those prompts, I feed it into my AI, and
Yeah,
and now I have,
it's part of the collective.
yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so now, I've got his prompts in GPT, his way of
Yeah.
generating. I was just looking this morning. I found 4 different methodologies for generating prompts from some prompt engineer, and I'm building the agents out of all of them so that I could have these like
That's what it means though. Like as soon as you imagine something or come up with something or say something or whatever, it's part of the collective in a way. It always has been that way, right? But it used to take time for people to trickle through and read things.
yeah,
It was about you and your exclusivity and like, oh, I found this nugget. Now I'm going to translate that. Nope,
yeah.
not anymore. Because as soon as it hits, it's going to hit. Boom,
I know,
gone.
man.
Like
Virtual
everywhere.
digital time is completely collapsing upon itself, and I don't know
Wild.
how like us meat bags are really going to kind of keep up, in some ways, because our normal lives, our romantic lives and our family lives and our fucking, physical body lives will continue to move at the pace that's moved for bazillions of
Yeah.
years or whatever, right? And yet these virtual lives, and all of a sudden we are going to want to upload ourselves to the matrix, because it's like, to be able to keep up with the pace of it all.
Well, I think it was a Carl Sagan quote. Was it Sagan or Hawking? I can't remember right now. Who was talking about the dangers of AI, because and basically they were relating it to like, look, humans take generations to get better, right? So like every generation imparts some level of wisdom or knowledge or whatever. And we know that there's about three to four generations that live kind of on top of each other, right? So you could see the handing down of like knowledge and experience and blah blah blah. And that takes, let's say, at least decades, right? To like to grow people, right? And then and impart knowledge and then grow and then impart and then with, there's no way in hell we can actually keep up with the evolution of any of this shit,
Well,
like at all.
I guess there's one thing to be hopeful for, which is my buddy said the other day, he's like, yo, KK, don't die in the next few years, because they're going to use AIs to make some serious scientific breakthroughs around life extension and shit like that. And so if you can live for 5 more years, man, you'll probably live for another 100 years or something.
I got a buddy who's saying the same thing. Actually, he was talking about gene stuff and a bunch of other biohacking and other shit, and he was looking at me going, "Dude, you don't have to die. Like you did, like today." He's like, "You don't have to." He's like, they can fix that." And it's just kind of like knowing him and who he is. I was like, "You're probably fucking you do know some shit." He's like, "Oh, I know some shit. Like it's
Yeah.
they don't you don't have to." And I believe that. So now when you start adding in everything else that's going on, anything else that might be under the hood that we haven't seen yet, fucking forget it, dude.
Yeah, man.
But like
Yeah.
biohacking and gene hacking and DNA, like all these things are just they're gonna reverse aging. And then you've got to there's so many wild conversations about all of it, about truth and fact and deep faking and all this nonsense. And then there's questions about ethics, right? And like and what happens if we live forever, right? And resourcing and the planet and
Well, hey,
like it's a
as
lot.
just because I pressed record halfway through this conversation, I want to get one of those.
Mm-hmm.
I pressed record on this conversation about halfway through, as you know, and
Mm-hmm.
I want to get a couple of these things down so we can get them out there and stuff. But
Yeah,
on the ethics thing, I've been working with a lot of artists and creatives, and a lot of them are, what do you think of like Molly Crabapple's open letter and stuff like that? Or what do you think about like as an illustrator, as like a guy, you're a
yeah.
tier 1 world-class illustrator. It's how you have made your name for yourself, but yet you're not threatened by this. You're not expressing, resistance. So talk to me a little bit from the perspective of an illustrator.
Well, it's kind of interesting because um from a I don't think it's that I don't have fear of it. I have a lot of fear of it, to be honest. I think I'm accepting of it. I feel like there's a journey we all need to go on. There's no option to not take that journey at this point. That's not going to happen. So you've got to like either get on board, right? Or like get run over. So we've got to figure out what it all really means. I I mean, I made most, my career is in software and enterprise UX and a bunch of other stuff, right? And my passion on the side is illustration and art. I I'm honestly not completely sure what to think about it
Mhm.
right now. I've even talked to friends who are trying to figure out like how to put together some kind of software that would help people get paid, right? Because AI is crawling, people's art and all that other stuff.
Well,
And
that's
I looked at them and I
specifically
was
the
like,
one that that's specifically the thing I kind of wanted you to tell me what you think about, is like,
yeah,
some people are saying
yeah,
there's no way to ethically use AI at all because it's been trained on the
right.
backs of stolen work from stolen artists. So I just was wondering if you would address that.
I don't truly know how to feel about that. I'll just be completely honest. When other people asked me about it, I was like, look, I'll just be straight up. If you could figure out a way to get me paid, that's great. I'm gonna tell I don't know how that's even remotely possible.
What do you think you
And
could
then
be
think
paid for?
I don't actually know if I could or should be paid, quite frankly. Getting into the ethics question right that you're trying to drive at is like there's a very obvious like correlation. I am also doing the same thing that AI is doing, right? I
Mhm.
am the sum total and of all of the experience, visualization, right, that I've ever had, right? So
Everything
you
you've
got
seen, everything
it's
that's
like a
been.
signed Milton Glaser behind me, right? So it's Milty, right? So I see this, right? Do I owe Milton the check or his family a check? because I've seen this right today. I got another one over there. So like
Do
I
we owe,
I
do we owe him a bigger check because we're about to put it on YouTube?
yeah, like I have no idea what to like. I don't know what that even means, right?
Yeah.
I went to school. I sat in art history class. I looked at all these old masters. I looked at modern art. I looked at modern designers. I've like ingested all of these things. I have conversations with people. We've talked. I made a tattoo for you once. Dope, right? Like how, like all these work products, they exist, right? They're out there, right? And I don't even need to think about AI to feel like, people are ripping me off. I got pieces out there that people have used for book covers that they've never
Yeah.
paid me
Yeah.
for, right? Like I can't even get paid for that. I don't understand how I'm ever going to get paid for AI scraping a billion images, right? And a few of
Yeah.
mine happen to be in the mix. I
Well,
don't like, I just don't see that. I don't
yeah,
know how it
man.
works.
You know, I think it might be a little counterintuitive in some ways. Like, I've got these 130,000 Creative Commons licensed photos on Flickr that I put out there, and they've been used in huge data sets to train
Yeah.
facial recognition and, hair engines inside video games and other, artificial intelligence and stuff.
Right.
So I don't feel like anything's been stolen from me by or that I've been shortchanged by my images being included in there. Um, I feel like I'm part of something bigger than myself and relevant and helping to create the future. And so, I'm looking for those ways, as it relates to like people stealing your art anyway. Like I've been thinking for a long time, it's like there's a lot of people on the internet. There's some people who are using your stuff the right way, and there's people who are using your stuff the wrong way. And I really only have time of the day to pay attention to people that are doing stuff the right way, because I can chase down people who are stealing my copyright or stealing my intellectual property. I can chase them down all day long, but at the end of the day, there's no real recourse. There's no way for me to really stop them or
No,
to get compensated or whatever.
no,
And so I just try to like live in the light,
no.
man. Keep focused on the creating awesome shit, getting it out there, building an audience around it, and continue to find my voice and express myself.
Dude, I think that's the most healthy and best attitude about any of it,
Yeah.
right? Like
What
no
else?
one wants to stagnate and be think right, like think about, oh, I made that great thing and that's mine and I should be really like ever since the internet has existed, our shit has been out there and available to everyone for all time. There's literally no way to keep copyright. There's no way to do any of these things. Of course, if people use it in big ways or whatever, right, and you feel like you've got a right, go get it. But the truth is, it's all there, right? Like copy and paste exists, screen grabs, all the things, right? So it you it's way healthier to be more focused on what's the next step, how do I move forward, how do I get better, how do I feel more fulfilled, how do I achieve the next plateau, whatever it is that or wherever it is that I want to go, right? Whatever part of my heart that I want to fulfill, whatever part of my brain that I want to grow, or the part of the of culture or society I want to contribute to, like you did it. Cool. You
Yeah,
made a thing.
yeah,
Awesome. We put
yeah.
it out into the world, just like the old masters did, right? They painted oil paintings, they put them up on a wall. Awesome. It's out in the world. What are you going to be upset about it? Like it's, it just is. And if you're lucky, you're influencing people. If you're lucky, people are connecting with it. If you're
That's right.
lucky,
Yeah.
it influences them in some
Well, and if you
particular
do
way, right?
connect with
And
them
that's
and it
beautiful.
influences them, then that is real value. And you can find a way to, fucking get compensated or
100%.
whatever. Like if you're touching
100%.
people, there's gonna be money on the table.
100%. I
Yeah,
totally agree.
cool.
Totally agree. So yeah, it's a wild time.
Yeah.
It's a wild time.
Well, glad you tracked me
Cool
down,
time.
man.
But dude, this was a really great chat. I really appreciate I appreciate that. Like you're listening to you even for like half an hour go off about the shit that you're doing right now, really literally like broke down a wall for me. And honestly, truly fucked me up because it introduced me to an entirely new way of thinking
Whoopsie.
about
Yeah,
this shit
I know,
as if
man.
there's, there's nothing holding you back.
It
So
is
it's cool. It's
paradigm
exciting.
shattering and in many cases identity
It is.
crisis inducing.
It is 100%.
Like, who
But
am
yeah, I'm
I? What
already.
am I even doing here?
But I feel like I was already in the middle of that shit before all this happened. So whatever, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
just another angle.
Cool.
We're gonna get cut.
Well, hey, I know we didn't intend to record this conversation, so I'm just gonna push pause here on it, and we'll send that off
Yeah.
to the bots, and then yeah, and then we can wrap up.
Yeah, that's dope.
Over now for now, internet.